If I were you and you were starting a new team, one of the things you want to think about is team development.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you go and have team building games, but that you do begin to address what are the norms we're going to have here. What do we expect about how we deal with each other? Now, that doesn't mean we're going to be able to live those fully, but at least it establishes that these are what are the expectations here, and that we're going to work towards those. But it requires the leader of the group to model it, you know, and to be the best representative and to keep that going.
Yeah, very often we've seen that, you know, when people come to us wanting us to do some kind of a team building for the team, you know, we're starting up a team, we want to do a team building. When we ask them what they mean, they sometimes will say, you know, like, you know, we take them out to a resort and play golf, and you'll do a talk, and then we'll go on a boating trip. And there's like a lot of social activity that we all feel good about each other, and with the assumption that if we do that kind of stuff, then when we go back to work together, we'll cooperate a whole lot more.
And we don't kind of like agree with that. We don't agree with the assumption that people are going to behave on those experiences the way they behave at work, or whatever insight they have there, they're going to be able to apply at work. Mm-hmm. So we much prefer to work with teams with the work that they have.
Yeah.
And how to build cooperation and present tools and techniques that have practical impact.
So while discussing the content,
like the team charter or something,
of the team, have them talking about how are we going to work together to deal with this? How are we, what are we going to do, or what do we already do that helps us feel trust? What do we need to do differently? What do I expect from you? What do we do well already that facilitates productive conflict? What do we need to do differently? And so getting people to actually talk through that in an intact team. And it takes some skill to be able to negotiate people through that, because you're bringing up the stuff that everybody's felt a little uncomfortable actually touching.
And had difficulty in the past in previous teams. Lencioni recommends in his book to build trust is the tool of the Myers-Briggs type indicator. And we highly recommend that. Not to go learn the MBTI and all the complex of that, but basically just to learn that we're different. And that those differences are natural and actually have strengths. If you have differences on a team, then you're going to have some people who naturally are going to move in one direction, and some people are naturally going to look in another, and they can cover each other's blind spots. And it's helpful to know what those are for each other, and where we naturally are going to have misunderstandings because we approach things in different ways. And if you don't know that, then you're going to take it personally, and you're going to go into all the conflictual ways we handle that. So he says that's a very valuable thing to do at the beginning of a team, to begin to understand not just how we interact with each other individually, but also as a team, where are our strengths and blind spots as a team? Because where our blind spots are, we're going to have to do some extra effort to address. If all of us are people who, for instance, are very creative and spontaneous, we're going to have difficulty in ending things, in bringing things to closure. So what attention we're going to do to that? There's a set of questions in 4 areas. We tend to think of 2 of the areas and not think of the other 2. If you have these questions, then you can make sure you cover them all. So it's just a valuable tool for understanding yourself and others, and particularly for building that trust around that we all have differences, that we're going to be supportive of those differences, and when they happen, we're going to be more curious about why that's there than defensive and combative about it. And that's a profound change. You know, hardly any of us grew up in a conflict in a family where when there was a conflict we ended up closer. So we don't come to the workforce with good skills about this, but this can begin the process. So we're just more planting seeds for those of you in the future who have that leadership role. This may be something that you consider including in your team development process.